Okay, Assalamualaikum and good morning everyone.
Waalaikumsalam, Madam.
Alright, so now already 10 so I think we should start now, okay, because we have two chapters to cover today. Alright, so as usual, we will look into the video topic sharing by your friends. Okay, it's about 15 minutes, followed by the quiz, and then we have level of understanding, and I will explain more on the topic. Alright, so we start with topic 3 first. Okay, topic 3 is about peripherals. Right, so everyone ready? Okay, can you see my screen now?
Yes, Madam.
Alright, good. Okay.
Hi everyone, today we're going to present the peripherals topic. I will start first with the GUI interaction characteristic. There are four things, which is the direct manipulation, interaction with state machine, elementary tasks, and the last one is interaction modes. Okay, for the direct manipulation is a persistent representation of object of interest. It use of physical action instead of complex text. The operations are quick, incremental, reversible, and their effect on object is immediate visible. Okay, next we have interaction with state machine. There are constituents, which is finite automata and state machine. For finite automata, there is state, which is the interaction state, and transition, which is input event. Okay, for state machine, there is constituents, which is the actions associated to transition and condition associated to transition. Okay, next we have elementary tasks. There are 16 to remember, which is entry, selection, triggering, scrolling, specification of argument or properties, and the last one is transformation. Okay, the last one is interaction mode. Mode is the state of interface where input is interpreted differently than other modes. There are three modes, which is temporal, spatial, and quasi-mode. Next is the structure of an interactive system. There are two parts, which is visible part and invisible part. The visible part, or we call it the front end, is output and input. Output is what we see and input is what we interact with. Okay, for the invisible part, or we call it back end, is actually what happened. Okay, there is a treatment, computation, communication, and also data where storage and access. Okay, now we're going to talk about the peripherals. Peripherals is a device that is connected to a host computer. Okay, it expands the host capabilities but doesn't form part of the core computer architecture. It often, but not always, partially or completely dependent on the host. For the structure of peripherals, there are three parts, which is the human, hardware, and software. Okay, in the human part, there is the brain, sense, and actuators. Okay, for sense, our eyes that watching, our ears that hearing, and our hands that touching. Okay, there's also actuators, just like our hand that typing and our mouth that talking. Okay, first, our hands going to type on the keyboard, which is the hardware, and it's going to send the input into the software, and it's going to send back the output into the hardware, which is the computer screen that will display the output. And we call this input and output loop. There are three types of peripherals. First is input, which interact with or send data to the computer. Next is output, that provides output to the user from the computer. And the last one is storage, that stores data processed by the computer. Input peripherals is any peripheral used to provide data and control signal to an information processing system, such as a computer or other information appliance. Okay. Another example of input peripherals is the keyboards, mouse, joystick, and also a scanner.
Here, there are some examples of test input peripherals. The first one is a very common device among tab or iPad users, which is a stylus pen. It is used to write, draw, or point with precision when using touchscreen technology. Next is punch card. Punch card is a paper card where holes may be punched by hand or machine to represent computer data and instructions. The last one is scanner. Scanner is used when some information is available on paper and it is to be transferred to the hard disk of computer for further manipulation. Next, here are some examples of text entry. As you can see, the design or the layout of these two keyboards are different. On QWERTY keyboards, 56% of the typing strokes are done by the left hand. As the right hand, for the majority of people, the Devourer keyboard puts the more often used keys on the right hand side, thereby having 56 of the typing strokes done by the right hand. The second one is a projection keyboard. A projection keyboard is a form of computer input device whereby the image of a visual keyboard is projected onto a surface. When a user touches the surface covered by an image of a key, the device records the corresponding keystroke. Another example is cord and mobile phone keyboard. As you can read, mobile phone keyboards is using a T9 system. T9 is a predictive text technology for mobile phones, specifically those that contain a 3x4 numeric keypad. It is originally developed by Tajik Communications but now part of Nuance Communications. T9 stands for Text on 9 Keys. T9's objective is to make it easier to enter text messages. It allows words to be formed by a single key press for each letter, which is an enormous improvement over the multi-tap approach used in conventional mobile phone text entry at that time. Next is output peripherals. Output peripherals are devices that are capable of reproducing what happens on the computer for the interest of the user. The CPU generates internal bit patterns, and these devices are responsible for making them understandable to the user. To conclude, it is any electronic accessories that can reproduce information in the form of text, graphics, drawings, photographs, or even three-dimensional space. And here are some examples of output peripherals that you should know. 3D peripherals. 3D peripherals is a form of human-machine interaction. We are able to move and perform interaction in 3D space. The 3D space used for interaction can be the real physical space, a visual space representation simulated in the computer, or a combination of both. When the real space is used for data input, humans perform actions or give commands to the machine using an input device that detects the 3D position of the human action. When it is used for data output, the simulated 3D visual scene is projected onto the real environment through one output device or a combination of them.
Now I will explain about tactile peripheral. So what is tactile peripheral? Tactile peripheral is basically about mechanical instruments that use the sense of touch, but more specifically only feel the sensation of pressure rather than temperature or weight. This can also help individuals who have certain disabilities such as deaf blindness to communicate by feel the vibration or surface changes. Tactile peripheral also used to enhance human-computer interface, which it helps computer interface system much more appealing and convenient. What I mean by that is you can find tactile peripherals everywhere. On the machine ke, contohnya button-button yang you sentuh, itu semua tactile peripherals. Absolute versus relative movement. I will explain about absolute movement first. So absolute movement is an input device such as finger or touch screen provides a consistent mapping between a point in the input space and a point in the output space. While relative movement is an input device that allows for relative movement such as mouse or joystick, converts the displacement in the input space into displacement in the output space. Therefore, it manages the cursor's location in relation to its starting point. Touch and control peripheral devices are divided into three. The first one is isotonic devices. So isotonic devices, also called displacement, free-moving or unloaded devices. These devices is movable and measures its displacement. Examples for isotonic devices are mouse, pen, and human arm. The second one is elastic devices. So elastic devices use either position or force for input. Example for elastic devices is joystick. So isolated joystick are handle sticks where the user can freely change the position of the stick with more or less constant force. Lastly, isometric devices. Isometric devices, also called pressure or force devices. This device is fixed and measures the forces which acts on it. Example device for isometric devices is checkpoint.
Next, I will talk about other control peripherals. They have 5 in this topic. First, position trackers, locomotive device, eye trackers, speech recognition, and gesture recognition. Position trackers is to determine position and orientation of the user. Usually, position trackers use 6 coordinates or degrees of freedom to describe the position and orientation. This is example of the position trackers, as can you see in the slide. Next, we have locomotive device. Is to translate the user's movement in real space to similar movement in virtual space. Give the users the feeling that they are moving through the space and a natural way to navigate through the virtual environment. For example, stationary bicycle, stair climbers, and treadmills. Then we have eye trackers, is to allow the system to determine the user's position through a variety of techniques. For example, corneal reflex test, which measures the amount of light reflect from the cornea. Next, gesture recognition provide users with a natural and smart way to input information. Sometimes they use glove or body suit, enable position of individual joints to be determined. And lastly, for other control peripherals is speech recognition. It's used the human voice as an input device, using either hardware or software or both. Words and phrases are matched against a set of known words or phrases. And as you can see here, these are wearable computing via Bluetooth, augmented reality computing, and these are also example of wearable computing, which is mixed reality computing and virtual reality computing. Last but not least, we have peripheral inspiration, which is Mark Weiser. He proposed the ubiquitous computing paradigm. Network computers will be implanted everywhere in the environment of users and will increasingly be integrated with everyday tools. Also, it is connecting numerous users, computers, and other digital artifacts using wireless networking and the internet. That's all for us. Thank you.
Alright. Okay. Let me share the quiz first. Okay, peripheral. Okay, check in the chat box. Okay, I shared the link for quiz. 5 minutes for quiz. Fifteen response already. those done quiz, you can continue with understanding level word. Okay, where if you think that you understand more than 50%, okay, you can choose yes, right? If you think that you understand below than 50%, you can say half, okay? And if you think that you couldn't get anything from your friends sharing, okay, so you can choose no, right? 26 response, we have 29, okay, present today. So waiting for another 3 more. Let me see if any one of you are using 2 devices. Okay, no one used 2 device. So I should get 29. Three minutes more, please. Okay, after you done quiz, don't forget to do voting for level of understanding. Currently we have 14 votes. Okay. So group who does the topic sharing also need to do understanding level votes. Okay, 2 more minutes for quiz. Okay, I received 29 response for quiz, so I can stop the quiz now. Okay, and one more for level of understanding word. I have 19 words so far, so I need 1 more words. Okay, those completed quiz, don't forget to check again the link, chat box, and do voting for level of understanding. Okay, done. Oof. Right. Let's go through the quiz first. Okay. Right, 26, which is the highest majority. Okay, get full marks. Okay, and only three, get one correct and wrong one answer. One correct one, wrong one. Okay, so let's go through the questions. Question number 1. I am a device that allows a user to touch me to input informations, but also output images of what my system is doing. Okay, so the answer is touch screen lah, kan? User to touch. Okay, touch, you only not touch. Okay, the input is touch. Okay, but the output is the image. Okay, the image, viewing the image. So touch screen. Ada yang jawab monitor kan? Okay, the monitor also ada yang touch screen, right? Can be, yes, can be, but the best answer will be the touch screen, because not all monitor have a touch screen, right? So the best one is touch screen. Headphone ada touch juga kan, tapi keluar image ni macam mana tu headphone boleh keluar image tu? Okay, alright. So a monitor is, right, an output device that show images of what is happening in the computer, the viewing. Okay, so everyone get correct answer. Okay, so everyone know monitor is an output, right? Good. Okay, so looking at the level of understanding, okay, 62%, maybe half. Okay, which is you get something from the sharing, right? Good. Okay, and 38% say yes, which is more than 50%. Okay, I believe peripheral is quite easy chapter. Okay, everyone know what is peripheral, right? So the detail of peripheral only maybe you know the peripheral is a device. Okay, but talking of the detailed peripheral, maybe some of you have not been aware, right? So good, 38%. Okay, I think the group who done the peripheral topic and a few others get from the topic sharings understand what is peripheral, right? Okay. Okay, let me share today lecture the peripheral first, right? Okay, peripherals. Okay, chapter 3. Okay, this is example of peripherals. Okay, I think you all know devices. Okay, like devices, computer devices, right? It's a peripheral. Okay, so remember in topic 2. Okay, last week, users programming, right? You've been introduced what is interactions, user interaction, right? And types of user interaction, we have 3. Do you still remember? Types of user interaction. What is number 1? And GUI is one of the user interaction. Okay, so instead of GUI, do you still remember what is the second and third user interface? Anyone? Common language. And another one is, seorang yang ingat? We have 3 types of user interface. And GUI, GUI is the one that we will explain more on this. Okay, and then second one is common language, and third one is apa? Menus. Right. Okay, menus. Right. So talking about the peripheral. Okay, remember that this is interaction between human and computer, right? So human and computer. So computer is a device, right? That's why we have interactions in between of interaction, we have something on it lah. So peripheral, okay, peripheral. So this is a characteristic of GUI interaction. Okay, we have three types: direct manipulations, interactions with state machines, elementary tasks, and interaction mode. Okay, GUI is graphic user interface lah. Okay, let's go through one by one. Okay, direct manipulations. Okay, direct. Okay, direct manipulations mean that represent of object of interest, use of physical actions. Okay, instead of complex syntax, which is the peripheral. Okay, operations are quick, incremental, reverse, and their effect and on object is immediate visible feedback. Okay, you click the mouse, it's automatically happen, something like that. Okay, incremental learning to permit use of the interface with little prior knowledge because you rely on that peripheral is direct manipulations. Okay, next, interaction with state machine. Okay, we have two types of interaction with state machines. One is finite automata, finite automata, and the second one is state machine. So finite automata is interactions and also input. Okay, and the second state machine is the state machine. Okay, action and condition associated to transition. Right. So next, elementary tasks. Okay. Next, this is the interaction with state machine is based on automations. Okay. The two one. Okay. You have a common language lah. Common language. The third one is elementary task. Okay, it's based on a task. Okay, either entry, selection, triggering, scrolling, or specific of argument or properties, or also transformations. Something like you use a software like this one, Paint, right? To choose a color. Okay, you have a specific task. The last one is interaction mode, okay, where like you see in my screen now, I'm using one red dot, red dot colors, okay, for my mouse, okay. So that interaction mode, okay, is a mode state of the interface where input is interpreted differently than others mode, okay. Sometimes you can change. Instead of using the dot array, you can use arrow, right? Arrow, hand. Okay. You can draw a line. You can choose to have a text. Okay? So it's a temporal, spatial, and quasi modes. Okay. Problem, of course, you need to have a switching mode. Okay. And the structure of interactive system. Okay. Remember that our course is about programming interactive system, right? So interactive system, we should understand the structure of it. So we have the front end and back end, right? So the front end, of course, the visible part that you can see, you can act, okay? And the back end is you couldn't see, invisible part, okay? Where anything happen, the data, the treatment, the computations, the communication, and so on. At the back, right? So front end and back end. Okay. So when we talk about, just now we talk about structure in interactive system. Okay. But when we talk about structure of peripheral, okay, we have human, hardware, and software. Okay, where human we use our sense. Okay, we have eyes to see, right? The first one. Ears, okay, to listen, to hear, okay, hand, okay, to touch. Okay, we have another two more sense, which is nose, okay, and also our tongue, right? But current interface nowadays is using only eyes, ears, and hand. Okay, actually they are still some in the research, some actually most of it in the research, but where you can have you can smell, you can taste, right? But we talk about the common one, which is the eyes, hear, and hand touch. Okay, and this sense is connect with the hardware, okay, which is the communications, the interface, okay, which is the peripheral, okay, the devices, okay, either keyboard, mouse, okay, and so on, okay, and then the hardware is giving a signal to the software, how the software is interact, okay, so it's we use this hardware or peripheral to have an input, okay, and then the system at the back end, okay, response based on our input and giving back the output in the term of hardware as well, which is display using a hardware. Okay, so now just now we understand about the GUI characteristic, GUI interaction characteristic, right? And then now, and second one is the structure, okay? And now the definition of the topic, which is the peripheral. So peripheral is a device, okay? A device, okay? So a device that connected with computer. That's why device that have interactions with the computer, like connect with the internet, but it's not built-in, or I mean that it's not built. It's not. It's just extent of capability. Okay, it's not what we call it. Yes, some are built-in, right? But it's not an integral part. Not an integral part. Okay, expand the capabilities of the computer. Okay. So it is often, but not always, partially or completely depend on the host. Okay? Sometimes you can see that the devices is built in with the computer. Okay? So there are three types of peripheral. Okay, the first one is input. Okay, where user interact with. Okay, the mouse, the keyboard. Okay, based on our input, okay, our input. Output, okay, which provide output to the users, okay, the display part, okay, monitor, printer, okay. Lastly is the storage, okay, which stores data processed by the computer, which is the hard drive, the flash drive, okay, etc. Okay, so let's go through one by one. Okay, so this is the display image of all the peripheral, okay, which part is input, output, and also storage, right? So first input, any peripheral piece of computer hardware, okay, which relate with computer, okay, used to provide data and control signal to an information processing system such as computer or other information appliance. Okay, example of input device, okay, include keyboard, okay, mouse, scanner, digital camera, and joystick. Okay, so many input device can be classified according to the first one is the modality of the input. Okay, either for motion, audio, or visual. Okay, second, the input is either discrete or continuous. Okay, discrete is by pressing, keep pressing. Continuous, mouse, you use the mouse position. Okay. Okay, number three, the number of degree of freedom. Okay, where involve two-dimensional traditions, 2D, 3D. Okay. Okay. So in first one, input. Okay, input device. Okay, input. Talking about input, we have a lot of device. Okay, so at the moment, the mouse and keyboard are the most widely used input devices for 3D interactions. Okay, this is for 3D. Okay, these devices are 1D, keyboard or multi-dimensional, mouse of trackball like trackpad. So it can be 2D. Okay, so this is just to tell you that input device. Okay, we have text input. Okay, text input. We have three types. punch card, okay, keyboard, okay, and also stylus, okay, where you give a text input. Okay, when talking about just not text input, okay, that's why card just now, punch card is a text input. Okay, not necessarily you need to type in or you need to write. Okay, punch card also actually is a text input. But when we talk about text entry, okay, text entry, you key in the text, right? We give input, text input. Okay? So normally is a keyboard, right? Keyboard. So we have two type of keyboard here. So QWERTY, this is a standard, okay, or universal. Remember that we try to make a product that we have a universal users. Okay, so QT is universal. Either you are right-handed or left-handed, everyone can use QT. Okay, the innovations from this QT keyboard, we call it Deborah. Okay, Deborah actually is already innovated long time ago, but not so famous because not everyone use it. Okay, because it's have of course it improve better than QWERTY, okay, but it's mostly for right-handed. Okay, right-handed. So because of the position of the word is we will use more on the right-handed. Okay, that's why it give more performance. You only move some so you do some movement on your right-handed, mostly right-handed, you can reach all the text. So this one is based on research lah. That's why it said that it proves 10 to 15% speed reduce fatigue. Not only speed but also reduce fatigue because you have not much movement on your finger. Okay, so what else? Software keyboard optimization and pointing. Okay, we also have a setting, right? Macam the keyboard and also the pad, and we want to make it more faster or more slower. Also have the setting. VYP keyboard with this one is with LED lah, with LED. Okay? Of course, to cater other users that might have issues or for night use, for night use. Okay, this one also we have. Not only this, I believe that in the market you also can see that the text can be changed to Chinese characters, right? So you have the extent of the keyboard. Other than keyboard, we also have this shortcut keyboard or mobile phone keyboard. Okay, still you need to have a text input, right? But this one is more on mobile. Okay, so the first input alternative to classical. This one is only have a few keys. Okay, use of multiple keys simultaneously, fast input with one hand. Okay, remember that the handphone, the long time ago handphone, okay, 3310. Okay, we only use the keyboard, okay, to do a messaging, right? So people can type while you are driving, right? So because you already identify the position of the keyboard because it's only have a few keyboard instead of the QWERTY keyboard, right? So the mobile one is quite easy lah, and you can use your one hand and instead the two hand. Okay. Okay, this is all the peripheral, okay, or the devices, okay, that connected with our computer. Okay, we'll go through one by one. Just now is talking about the input peripheral. Okay, now output peripheral. Okay, the display part. So talking about display, mostly it's a screen, right? Screen. So we have a bitmap screen. Okay. Other type of screen, you know that we have a different type of screen, LCD, LED, plasma, kan? And many more. Okay, OLED, okay, organic light emitting, so all the types of screen. Okay, so talking also about the screen, we talk about the size, the diagonal size. Okay, that's why we have a big screen, small screen. Okay, so it calculates based on the diagonal dimension. Okay, screen also related with resolution. Okay, resolution. Okay, normally is expressed in pixel, so you can see the pixel is kind of high resolution or lower resolution. Okay, so remember that I mentioned that it's different when you have a design for printed and also for soft copy, right? So it's talking about the resolution as well. Okay, and next, after the resolution, okay, the smooth of the pictures. Okay, so we talk about the color. Okay, color resolution. So you can see the different. This is the low bit of color. This is high bit of the color, high definition. Yeah, kalau nowadays we have a HD screen. Okay, tengok je boleh nampak dia punya ada jerawat ke apa ke kan. So you can zoom in, you can zoom out. Okay, you can see the detail of the face. Something like that lah. So the depth, okay, the depth based on the bit, okay, the depth of the display, okay. What else? Temporary resolution is based on hertz, okay, hertz per second. This one is a print screen lah. So this is using 60 hertz. So other than the one that we normally see as a television screen, monitor screen, okay. Talking about screen, we also have big screen like this one, or mobile screen, okay, or display using a projector, or what else? Normally it's this one. And then 3D peripheral, okay. Of course, when we talk about display, okay, we can see the 1D, 2D, 3D, kan? 4D, 6D, kan? Where you can see the shape of the display object. Okay. So 3D interaction is a form of human-machine interaction where are able to move and perform interaction in 3D space. You can see the dimension, depan, belakang, atas, bawah, kan? And sometimes you can interact with it, you can move it, kan? You can move it. Macam nowadays we have the AR, VR that you can move the object. Okay? Both human and machine process information by the physical. Okay, this is one of the example using the 3D peripheral. Okay, you have the virtual reality, kan, using the wearable. Okay, wearable, okay, and also you have this peripheral, okay, that's connected with the computer system that you can move the object, okay, because it's 3D. Okay. What is when the real space is used for data input, human perform action or give command to the machine using an input. Okay, when it's used to okay, this one is ada apa lah. Next is tactile. Okay, tactile. Okay, tactile peripheral is something related with touch. Okay, touch. So used to enhance human-computer interface. Tactility is how users take action. Okay, tactile haptic feedback is based on vibration. Okay, the surface change. Okay, so mechanical instrument that make use of touch to help individual who have certain disabilities. This one is good for those have disabilities such as blind, okay, blindness, okay, or deaf, right, to communicate. Okay, normally we have a braille, okay, braille for the blind. Okay, so this the texture, okay, the texture is the informations given to the disabilities person. Okay, this one is talk about textile, okay, because you can touch, but you need to have this peripheral, okay, to make it you can touch it lah. But you need to also using this wearable VR, okay, virtual reality. Okay, You are in virtual reality, you can see, but at the same time, you can touch it. Touch using this peripheral, okay, tactile peripheral. Next, type and control. Okay, you can have absolute and relative, where the transmit of position for absolute and relative transmit of displacement. Example is the tablet lah, touchscreen. Okay, actually, when I'm doing the PhD before, there is some of my friends are doing research on touchscreen. So because we expect lah, actually, yes, there is nowadays we have a lot of touchscreen tabletop. Tabletop is the famous one lah. Actually, we want to do a collaborative learning using a tabletop. Okay, but it's quite expensive. Okay, so not many university can buy it. Okay, so that's why we hardly see it. Okay, but actually it's been everywhere lah. The easiest one that you can see is using the kiosk, kan? Kiosk in supermarket, kiosk in McD, kan? Okay. Some are using optical pens. Okay? You need to have a peripheral to interact with the touch screen. Okay, for the relative, they transmit a displacement using mouse or joystick or trackball. So this one is normally play game, right? Or you have the with the wearable you play a game that you can move it, change the place and so on. Okay. Order O, order 1. Okay, so input device displacement correspond to a displacement of an object. This one is mouse, single cursor pair. Okay, and this one is order 1 input device for the speed. Okay, joystick. Okay, joystick. Okay. This one mouse, this one for joystick. Okay, and we have isotonic devices. Okay, and also elastic devices. Okay, also this one another example of isotonic device. Okay, where we call it displacement device lah, free moving and use position. Okay, this one is elastic, isometric. Okay, you need to press, right? Press to. This one is like a mouse. Okay? They don't have the mouse pad. They're using this one as a track point. Others control peripheral is position tracker. Okay, position tracker is determine the position and orientations of the users. Okay, typically position track use 6 coordinate. Okay, this one is hardly been used lah, kan. Okay, locomotive. This one I think most of you can see, can use it. Okay, locomotive, kan, bicycle, stay climb, and also treadmill lah, to do exercise. Okay, you are in indoor exercise, right? You are doing the behavior lah, the action, but it's actually static there, static, right? Okay, eye tracking, okay, is famous in research. Okay, so allow the system to determine the user position. Okay, we do research on when you buy something, what is the item that you look the most. Okay, this one is good for brand awareness, kan? To expect where users mostly referred when you want to do shopping in the market lah. I also did one of the research using eye tracking. Okay, but mine is mostly on the screen. Gesture recognitions, okay, based on your gesture, your hand gesture or your body gesture. Okay, speech recognitions. Okay, actually, talking about the interaction, just now we have used specific user interface, right? User interface, GUI, common language, and also menus. But when we talk the overall interaction, actually we have 3 types of interaction. The first is GUI. The second is audio, which is included this audio and speech recognition, like this one. And the last one is the gesture one. Wearable computing, okay, it's is in now, is in trending now. Okay, so this is the history lah. Actually, all the technology that we have actually been evolved from the previous one lah. But you can see that the detail of the device is still need to be improved. Yet need to be improved lah. Actually, it's already there. AR VR ni bukan benda yang baru. Actually, it's long time ago lah. Okay, this one. Okay. Okay, this one is still wearable computing. Okay, via Bluetooth. Okay, you are using a smart watch that you can connect with others thing. Okay. Augmented reality computing. Okay. So and also virtual reality, and combined together become mixed reality, and extend from it is extend reality, where you use all these three. Okay, so this is in the trending now lah. Okay, extend reality. So this is example of extend reality. Okay, you have the screen that you can interact with. Okay, you can move based on the gesture. Okay, you can do other things, but you need the screen lah. Overseas university, okay, have implement this XR computing lah. But in Malaysia, I think private university lah can afford it. But for local, they only have the XR computing in the lab that for doing a research, okay, or specific course lah. Unit 10, I think Unit 10 have. Unit 10, Unit 10 also have, but not until XR, not until XR. Some of it only have AR or VR computing. Okay.
And there's been some reflection on him as well from the lights. It's awesome. Okay. Let's see. Can you forward? Come forward a bit. Not so much. Yeah. Right. Obviously we have more light.
This screen. You can interact with this screen. Okay. And then peripheral inspirations. It's from Weiser 1991 proposed this the ubiquitous computing paradigm, which suggests that network computer will increasingly become integrated with ordinary implement. Okay, we no need to carry all the computer all the way, right? So we can use this peripheral. Okay, using like you don't bring your handphone, but you have your smartwatch to connect with, something like that. So it's evolving lah. Okay, so connecting the multiplicity of users, computers, and other digital artifacts through the internet and wireless networking technology represent the foundation of the ubiquitous computing visions. Okay, we talk about this ubiquitous. Okay, so from time to time the technology more advanced lah. So techniques that allow users to communicate and share information will become increasingly important. Now, you don't need to have a phone, right? I mean the physical phone and the wired phone. Okay, you can interact with more than one person. Okay, using your mobile phone, okay, or computer. Okay, like what we do now. Okay, biometric sensors, okay, is also in the trending. Example, punch card. Okay, for authentications we use biometric. Yang normal use is fingerprint lah. Okay, and the more high tech is using your eyes. Okay, identification using the eyes. Okay, I know that mostly we seen in TV, right? Okay, but some organizations actually yang high tech lah have been implement this biometric sensor. Okay, biometrics in terms of eyes, your fingerprint, okay, any related with human body. Researchers are looking to move beyond the current window icon menu. Okay, we no longer using this window icon menu interface. Okay, but there are many potential candidates for the post WIM interface. Still. So Nielsen 1993 suggests candidates such as virtual realities, sound, speech, pen input, and gesture recognition, limited artificial intelligence, and highly portable computer. So this is what currently happen. So actually it's been suggested long time ago in 1993 by Nielsen. So how does good peripheral improvise interactivity? What do you think? Why we need a peripheral? Okay. So this is to give you an idea, okay, to start your group project. Okay. So in your group project, okay, so you can start to brainstorm. Okay, the title, the theme is educational courseware. You need to think of the title, the introductions, where you have a brief about your brief explanations about what you are going to do. Okay, problem. Okay, so normally we start with problem. Okay, look at surrounding you. Okay, what kind of problem that we are currently having. Okay, because we talk about educational, right? So not only in university, you can also get it in primary school or secondary school. Okay, what is the problem, okay, that you want to solve? Okay, cited your statements means you need to have a reference. Okay, you need to have a reference. If you say so that there is a problem on current learning technology, right? So you want to propose something. When you say there is a problem, you need to have a support. Okay? Meaning that yes, actually there is a research that mentioned that there is a issues on that. Contohlah yang to make people enjoy learning, to make people immerse with the learning, right? Okay? Instead of manual teaching and learning, okay, in the class, you try to solve the problem of creating the enjoyable in the class, or enhance the immersive, the engagement in the class. So how to do that? You can propose the educational courseware. Okay, so objective of your system applications focus on human computer interaction. Okay, who are your target users? Be specific. Okay, either primary school or kindergarten. Okay, age group. Okay, if you but educational course not only for students, it can be adult, right? Adult, you are young adult, and also for the working professional adult. Okay, that's why occupations, or this one is country. Country is maybe you can put as a state lah, Sabah area kan, or you can say that Melaka area, can be lah, niche lah. Okay, so this proposal, okay, you will need to think for the next week presentations. Okay, but I would rather if you propose in the group first. Okay, and then if I approve it, okay, I think better we do a live presentation lah kan, online, because next week is online class. So 5 minutes for each group, okay, to present their proposal. Okay, if I said that I will give a comment, and not only me, your friends, okay, please feel free to give a comment to your friends' proposal, so you may improve your idea. But if rejected, okay, you need to think others. So you have times in your holiday, Hari Raya holiday. Okay, so hopefully after your break, Hari Raya break, okay, or maybe when you are celebrating Hari Raya, you can think of the idea. Okay, just formally or informally talk about your idea in your group. Okay, if been rejected before the holiday lah kan, and share the idea. So of course tag me if you already confirm the idea to get approval. So hopefully, when we start after your holiday, everyone already get approval of proposal. Okay. Alright, boleh. So this one will be shared in the U future. Okay, U future I will put it in U future lah as your task, okay, as your task to start. You can use slide, okay, to present, but you only have 5 minutes. You can put 1 slide, 2 slide, 3 slide, okay. But remember, you only have 5 minutes to briefly present your idea. Every group 5 minutes only lah. Okay, in 5 minutes, anything you can put in your slide as your proposed idea. Okay, boleh faham? So next week, because I think in the, where is your I think in your lab session, which is on Monday, right? Okay, we do a 5-minute presentation for each group. Okay, and another 1 hour, maybe a simple lab sessions lah. Of course, we have a lab session as well, right? If we need, because I'm afraid that if we wait until lecture time, which is on Wednesday, okay, it's will drag your holiday nanti kan. So that's why do early, okay, on lab sessions, okay, 1 hour sessions. Okay. I think we have 5. How many group we have? 7, right? 7 times 5. Yeah, 1 hour can be done, right? Any questions for the proposal?
Doktor nak tanya, kalau problem yang kita nak solve pakai HCI tu sama dengan grup lain, boleh ke?
Problem can be same, but the solution of course different. Problem boleh sama. Problem sama, tapi you punya solution dengan other group solution, of course it should be different.
Okay, doktor, lagi satu. Untuk presentation untuk proposal kan 5 minit. So semua kena present or just wakil je?
Not necessary, not necessary. I will suggest 1 person only, or maybe 2. 1 or 2 lah. But for me, 1 is enough lah. You only have 5 minutes, right? 1 or 2 lah. Sometimes you want to bring your friends together, so 2. Okay, so either 1 or 2. Okay, no, not more than 2. Of course, this is a group project. Not necessary everyone need to present. So of course we don't have enough time. Okay, so everyone have their own ni lah. 1 person, everyone brainstorm the idea kan. 1 person prepare the slide. One person do a presentations. So divide the task ni lah equally lah. So everyone have their own strength kan. So not everyone can do a presentation, but try. When we do a presentation, rotate. Dah present or rotate orang lain. Then at the end, your final presentation, you already identify who is the best presenter to present your project. Lagi? Any other question? Okay. Alright. If you have any further questions, okay, of course you know how to reach me. Always use your WhatsApp group, okay, as a communications between you and your group, and also between me. Okay, jangan PM tepi kan, because I have many students that I recognize them based on your WhatsApp group. Okay, so all group you have a small group, so talk in the group. Okay, don't PM tepi. I'm represent all my friends. So if you represent your friends, so talk in the WhatsApp group. If about the whole class, you can talk in the class lah. But this project is about the group, right? So talk about in your WhatsApp group. Kalau dalam WhatsApp group pun malu-malu, saya tak tahu lah kan. But that's all your friends, right? So don't be shy lah, okay, to talk in the group. If no further questions, okay, let's continue with our topic 4. That's why actually I just get confirmation yesterday. Your test, okay, your test will be in week 7, which is after Hari Raya celebration, right? So that's why it's good we complete these two chapter, because your test is included 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So before test, after your break, okay, we can do revision, okay, before your test. But we done 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's focus on the project first, okay? And hopefully after Hari Raya celebrations, everyone know already what to do for your project, okay? Okay, let's move on to our topic 4, which is requirement engineering. Sorry. Requirement engineering is different course. We have system architecture and MVC, right? Let me look the video. Actually, I already downloaded yesterday. Why it's not in my draft? Okay, take 5-minute break. Okay, let me share the video. Okay, can I start? Everyone already back? Maybe some of you taking 5-minute breaks for toilet break. Can I start? Boleh? Okay. So topic 4 also not so hard. Okay, it's talking about MVC. Okay, MVC is a software architecture lah. Okay, MVC stand for Model View Controller. So not so much on this topic. Okay, so I believe that you can understand well lah. Alright, so let's start with topic 4, topic sharing. The topic sharing by group 3.
Hi, Assalamualaikum everyone. My name is Muhammad Syed Daniel. I'm from Group 3. My group and I today is going to present to you guys a topic that is called Software Architecture and MVC. So before that, I'm going to read a few of the overview for today. So the first one is the MVC introduction. Second, the good versus the bad software program. And then the third one is MVC interaction between component. The fourth one is MVC advantage and the disadvantages, or we can call it MVC pros and cons. The fifth one is MVC example, and after all that, we're going to conclude it in one summary. Okay, during last class, which is last week, we have learned about interactive system. So, what can we conclude that the interactive system is divided into two parts, which is the front end and then back end. So the front end is the visible part of interactive system, which is what we can see physically, which is the input and then the output. For the back end, is the invisible part of the interactive system, such as the data calculation and the whole process for the interactive system. So this is the example of the interactive system front end and back end. As you can see, the front end, we have here the interface of Spotify desktop version, and then it show that it have the search bar, the playlist setting and all of that. And then for the back end is for the thing that we don't see in the interface, which is the album data, the artist picture, the album detail, and then the streaming data, which is the one of the most popular feature of Spotify, which is the monthly listener. Okay, so what is it, the connection between the front end and the back end of interactive system? So the data itself is called a model, and then the way of the data being represented is called the view, and then the application to represent the data is called controller. The MVC might be quite similar to us because we already learned it in mobile programming and then the enterprise programming. So now we're going to go through the MVC meanings. So for the M is model. The model is the central component, and it also consists of the application data, the business rules, the logic, and also the function. The next one is view. View can be any output representation. For example, chart such as pie chart and bar chart, and also it can be represented in a form of diagram. And the last one is controller. The controller, the purpose of controller is to accept input and convert it into the commands for either model or view. I will continue the presentation about MVC in good and bad software program. MVC architectures allow isolation of entire behavior of program. So as you can see at the good software program, each class that being designed fall in exactly one of model, view, or controller. This is the second example of good and bad software program. MVC architecture mandates which components can directly use other components. So in the diagram, we can see that the good software program, since the model, view, and controller have separate function, access to each other is also restricted. So typically, the model and view cannot directly access each other, and the controller communicates with both. In many programs, the view cannot ask the controller for data. The controller decides when to provide data to it. MVC architecture promotes low coupling between groups and classes. Groups of classes.
Next, we will move on with the ideal interaction between components of MVC. Next, I will be explaining about the interaction between MVC components. First, the browser sends a request to the controller. Then the controller interacts with the model to send and receive data. The controller then interacts with the view to render the data. The view is only concerned about how to present the information and not the final presentation. It will be a dynamic HTML file that renders data based on what the controller sends it. Finally, the view will send its final presentation to the controller, and the controller will send that final data to the user output. The important thing is that the view and the model never interact with each other. The only interaction that takes place between them is through the controller. Next, this is the example. The example is that the user choose the movie. First, a user inputs that they want a list of movies through a web browser or a mobile application. The browser will then send the request to the controller to get the list of movies. Next, the controller will ask the model to find the list of movies from the database. Then the model searches the database and returns the list of movies to the controller. If the controller gets the list of movies from the model, the controller will ask the view to present the list of movies. Then the view will receive the request and return the rendered list of movies to the controller in HTML. Lastly, the controller will take that HTML and return it back to the user. And thus, the list of movies is shown as the output.
I will present the pros and cons of MVC. So for the pros, the first point, easy code maintenance, easy to extend and grow. The next one is MVC model component can be tested separately from the user. Next one, easier support for new type of clients. And next one, development of the various components can be performed parallel. The next point is helps you to avoid complexity by dividing an application into 3 units. And next one is offers the best support for test-driven development. And the last one for the pros is works well for web application, which are supported by large teams of web designers and developers. And we will continue to the cons. For the cons, framework navigation can be complex. So next one, no formal validation support. Next, increase complexity and efficiency of data. And the fourth one, difficult to support user interface for the new technology. And the last one, for the cons, knowledge of multiple technologies is required. And then we will continue for the MVC example.
So for my part, I will explain about example of MVC. First example of MVC is Java Swing. We look at the view first. View represents the GUI components that are visible to the user. It consists of buttons, label, tag areas, and the other graphical elements that the user can interact with. The view listens to the user events and send them to the controller. For model represents the business logic and the data of the application. It interacts with the database and provides the necessary data to the controller. Last, controller. The controller acts as an intermediary between the model and the view. It receives user events from the view and processes them. It accesses the model to retrieve data and send it to the view to update the GUI component. Second example of MVC is Java. We look at the view. View represents the visualization of data received from the model. The layer consists of output of application or user interface. It sends the requested data to the client that is fetched from model layer by controller. In model acts as a data layer for the application. It represents the business logic and also the state of application. The model object fetch and store the model state in database. For the controller layer gets the user request from the view layer, process them with the necessary validation, and interface between model and view. The request then sent to the model for data processing, and the data is sent back to the controller for it to be displayed on the view. The last example of MVC is browser. We look at the view first. CSS adds visual style to the content. It is the skin we use to flesh out our skeleton and give it a particular look. For the model, HTML is the skeleton of bedrock content, text that communicate information to the reader. Last is controller. Controller work as browser that responsible for combining and rendering the CSS and HTML into a set of final. So, for the summary of MVC. MVC stands for the Model View Controller, which is a software design pattern used in developing web application. It is a way of separating an application concerns into three interconnected components: the model, the view, and the controller. The model represents the data and business rules of the application. It is responsible for handling data storage and retrieval, as well as performing operations on that data. The view is responsible for displaying the user interface to the user. It is the component that allows users to interact with the application and provides visual feedback. The controller acts as an intermediary between the model and the view. It receives input from the view, manipulates the model, and updates the view accordingly. By separating an application into these distinct components, MVC provides developer with a modular and extensible architecture that is easy to maintain and modify. Additionally, MVC promotes code reusability, which can result in faster development times and fewer errors.
Okay. How's it? Is it indeed? Is it easy for understand? Okay, let me share the quiz first. Okay, let's do the quiz first. Okay, again, check in the chat box. Okay, I put the link for the quiz. Let's do a quiz for 5 minutes until 11:38. Right. Okay. Then, if you've done the quiz, again, do a voting for understanding level topic. Okay, to response. Okay, done quiz, then continue level understanding voting. Okay, so until 11:38. Right. Okay. 7 response. Seven response, 2 votes. Now 29 participants, 27. I'm not sure that because just now we have 29. Now reduce to 2% left. I'm not sure if you are sharing devices, sharing computer. Okay. I'm referring to the attendance 29, so I should get response 27. 2 more minutes. $15 done quiz, 13 votes. Okay, 2 more minutes. Eighteen, 19 response, 14 votes. Okay, last 1 minute. Okay, 21 response, 15 votes. Okay, 22 now. I thought I should have 27. Okay, 1 more minute lah to wait. Maybe we have 5 more, right? Okay, 22 response, 17 votes. Okay, already 11:40, but I have 22 response. Okay, what happened to another 5%? questions? Should I wait or should I stop? And I have 17 words. Please, who done the quiz? Word for understanding, I need 3 more. Okay, so words, I need at least 20 words. Okay, 23 response. Still 17 words. Just done quiz. Okay, don't forget to words for level of understanding. Currently, I have 17. I need 3 more. Alright, 18. I need 2 more. 19. Right, I need 1 more. Okay, 1 more. Okay, 1 more words for level of understanding. We still have 23 response for quiz and 19 words for level of understanding. Please, those done quiz, check again in the chat box the last link for level of understanding word topic 4. Most of you in your hostel, right? So is it internet connection in the hostel is good? It's good enough for you to do an online class? Most of you I can see using a mobile. Okay. Okay, 25. Okay, 25 response. Level of understanding, I need 1 more. Those done quiz and have not done the level of understanding, please give me 1 words for understand level of topic 4. And keep refreshing my screen. Okay. So, okay, 1 more. Come on, guys, 1 more so that I can start explaining on topic 4. So to connect with all the topic actually, okay, topic 1 you've been introduced in SCI, right? And then topic 2, user interface programming, okay, where you've been introduced the detail of what is interface, what is UI, what is interactive system, and what is human computer interactive system. Okay, and in relation with user interface programming, you have 3 types of user interface, where you have GUI, common language, and also menus. Okay, so now in topic 3 we talk about peripheral, because in user interface, okay, we use peripheral. Okay, peripheral. Okay, so peripheral is related with the front end. Mostly is the front end lah. Where you have the input and output. Okay, the input one is have a 4 types, 4 types of character: direct manipulations, interaction with state machine, elementary tasks, and also interactions mode, right? And in behavior of interactive system, we have 3 structure: input, output, and the data, right? The data. What you see, what you act, and what happening. Okay, what happening behind it. Okay, so in peripheral structure, we have human, hardware, software. Okay, so of course, human is users, ours, human. Okay, and the hardware is the peripheral. Okay, either the one with UC for the display output, or the one you act with the input. Okay, and the other one is the software. Okay? Human, hardware, software, the software. Okay, so for topic 4, okay, is in relation with the software, where we talk about the software architecture. Okay, And we talk about the detail of software architecture using MVC, model view controller. Okay. Let me stop the response first. It's already 11:45. Okay. So let's check the answer first. Okay. So 10 people, 10 of your friends got correct both question. 13, one correct answer, and 2 did not get correct for both. Okay, question number 1, in the MVC pattern, the application component that functions to present the data structure, okay, is talking about the data. Of course, some of you might confuse with the word present. It's not display, it's present the data structure, which is behind, okay, back end. So, should be the model, right? That's why I think some of you confused with present and display, right? So you choose view. Actually, it's a model. Talking about the data is the back end, the model, software. Question number 2, in the MVC pattern, the application component that function to take input from the users and transform into command for the model of view is called controller. So this one most of you know lah, controller. Okay, input controller. Okay, where you act, where you use, where you do something. Okay, right. Okay, based on level understanding, none say yes and no, which is good. Okay, taklah more than 50, taklah tak faham langsung kan. You get something from the sharing, which is good. More, everyone, 100% from the all the voters. Okay, say you get something lah, maybe 5, 10. Okay, never mind. So hopefully after my explanations, okay, everyone can say yes already. More than 50% can understand the topic. Actually, like I said, that is simple. We are talking about the software now. Okay, so the software, which is the system, right? The interactive system. So we have the architecture. Architecture ni macam apa? Architecture lah, architecture. You are multimedia computing, right? So your project mostly related with multimedia, which is related with human lah. Human. That's why you learn this topic, interactive. Okay. So to remind again, we have front end and back end. The visible part is the one that you see is the output. Okay. The one that you act with it is the input, and happen behind it's the back end. Okay. So this is an example. This is what you see, right? What you see and what you act, and you click it, you open it, right? So this is front end. The back end is the data model, the data, all the data, okay, the communications behind it, and the programming, the coding behind, okay. And the second part is here. Also, another example, front end is the one that you draw, you act, you do something, okay, and you also can see it, right? This is front end. The back end is behind it, okay, what's happening, okay, the calculation, transformation, the storage, okay. Another things is Excel. Excel, no, this one is access, kan, access data, okay, access ke Excel ke CSV data. So front end is the one that you can see this table, and you can also edit, add, you do something. Okay. The back end is the storage, okay? The storage of the data being stored. Okay. So talk about the good design. Okay, a good design should correctly working program. Of course, when we have a software, it should be correct work as is it, right? In system life cycle, okay, to develop a system, it's involved the repairing, the enhancement, debugging, and also evolution, drone. Okay? So each activity require change in the code, change in the testing, review, display. So it will take a time and cost. Remember topic 1, why you should learn HCI? Because most of the system fail to fulfill the user's need, right? So a good design have objectives that should stand in inevitable change in the future. So not only for this time, until the future can use your system. Okay. well-designed system where it should have a less effort to use it. Less effort. If of course there is a change, but it's a less effort to change it. Okay. So link between front end and back end. Okay. So front end and back end. Okay. So the front end that you see, okay, and which is your C is the output, the display part. We call it the view. Okay, representations. Okay, the one that you give an input or you interact with or you do something, we call it controller behavior. Do, act, use, right? Controller. And behind the back end, okay, the data and also their treatment on the data, we call it the model. Okay, so that's why it's come the word of model, view, controller, MVC. Okay, so this is talk about the system, the software just now. Okay, the software architecture. Use model, view, controller. So MVC is a design pattern, okay, a design pattern and also a software architecture. That's why I said that MVC is a software architecture and also a design pattern. Okay, so it's been introduced in 1979 by Truck Ring Scout. This one, the history lah, and it's related with object-oriented programming. Okay, because talking about human, normally people use object-oriented programming. So in MVC, it's divided in 3 interconnected parts where you have the model part, view part, and controller part. So this is the metaphor of the MVC. Okay, example that this chef is the model. Okay, the model behind the scene. Behind the scene, you cannot see the chef, right? When you buy your food, you cannot see the chef normally because it's in the kitchen, right? So you as a user is a viewer, the view, okay? And the waiter or the waiter, this one waiter lelaki kan, the waiter is the controller. Okay, it's the controller who help you to get your order. And so this is the metaphor. Okay, another example which is more on the product. Okay, so we talk about the full. Okay, the full is the behind it, the back end. Okay, and the interface is the car, the user interface of the car, right? What you see, okay, what you can see is the car, physically car. Okay, and the one that make the car move is the engine, right? The engine. Okay, so this is make the car move lah. Okay, that's the metaphor. So model, view, controller has 3 parts. Okay, the first one is central component. The model is the application data, business rule, logic, function, something behind the scene. Okay, the model. Okay, and next the view. View is the output, the display, the output representations. Okay, example, the chart, the diagram, the screen. Okay, so view, output. Okay, output. Okay, and last part is controller, which is input. Okay, input. Okay, input and convert to something, right? So this is controller. Okay, easiest is the one that you see is the output. Okay, of view, right? The one that you add is the controller. Okay, and the back end is the model. Okay, so this is explanations. Okay, the interaction of these 3 parts. Okay, as a users, okay, the one that you see is the view. The one that you use, act, you do something is the controller, and behind the scene is the model. So normally users is use the controller, okay, and the controller send the signal to the model, and the model send the command, the input as a view to the users. Okay, so talking about good and bad of a software program. So this is example of using MVC and without MVC. Okay, so if you can see the MVC, they have their own own three part, not mixed. So model is a model, controller have their own controller, view, each of these have their own class. Okay, but without MVC, it's mixed up. Okay, sometimes you're not sure it's a model or controller, sometimes it's outside from the scope, right? So the class is everywhere. So using MVC architecture is allowed isolation. It have amendments, have their own role, okay, and the connection is M model through the controller and get a view. And model and view is not connect, have a restricted, is not connect directly. So it's through the controller. Okay. However, for the back, you don't know. You can use a model as you can use model to interact with controller, controller to view, view to model. They mix up the role. Okay. And if you can see just now, the model and view cannot directly. So it's low coupling. It's not tight coupling. Low coupling. Okay. It's have their own way, more proper structure. Okay. Where the back everywhere. Okay. It's have a different type. Okay. Different type of connection. So example. Okay. Think about a program you have written in the past. This one pass on your other project. How can you design it better using MVC structure where you have the least possibility of model, view, and controller? Okay, so the tips is make sure the model does implement all the functionality. Okay, so this does not care about which functionality is used when, how results are shown to the users. Okay, it's only implement functionality. Where controller does takes user input. Okay, tells model what to do and view what to display. And the view part is only does display result to users. Okay, so actually I'm using ChatGPT. Okay, so ChatGPT is the trending one. So I'm asking, give me an example of bed which is without the MVC. So it gives me example. Example, you have this coding, right? So this coding you in a Python language. So you have what is your name, how old are you? All these are mixed. What happened if you have more query? So it's been complex, right? So more example is if you are in developers team for designing e-commerce website. Okay, so the project involves many different components, right? You have the product list, the shopping chart, checkout, customer account. So if you did not use MVC, so the code organizations will be separated. So other separated, and the scalability, the website grow and new features are added, but different coder, right? The user experience should have the standard user interface. However, if you did not using MVC, it's not linked together. So good using MVC, it's have a separate role, model, user model, view, and also controller. Okay, so this is example. Later on you can read like this is just getting the example from the ChatGPT. Okay, so ideally, users use a controller to manage user input, update application behavior, okay, and send the model application function to get a data access and management, and the data send for the view in terms of presentation of the data. Okay, so user get what they ask for, the input. Okay, so this is more detailed explanation. So talking about advantage and disadvantage, just now using the example, you can see the advantage, of course, code maintenance easy, can be test separately, easier support, development parallel, okay, avoid complexity, best support, and works well. For disadvantage, framework navigation can be complex. Okay, can be complex. It's not talking about the complexity, is the framework can be complex. No formal validation support, is up to what kind of validations that you want to do. Okay, increase complexity and inefficiency of the data because it's separately, right? It's parallel, separately. It's parallel. Difficult to support user interface if there is a new technology. And finally, knowledge. Okay, you need to have the knowledge of the three class just now. So this is an example of in a programming a language example of model view controller. So you can see in this is a Java example, okay, and this is the one that you see, okay, and you act, okay. So this is the class, okay. So this is the backend, okay, coding code, okay. Java programming. So this in easiest way to explain what is model, controller, and also view. Okay, so controller. So view will be displayed like this form. Okay, users interact with this view input. Okay, and send the notifications using the controller as an input. Okay, and the input send to the data to get the result. Okay, so in web applications, model is the HTML, okay, the coding, okay, the language, okay, and the controller is the browser because you are typing, right? You are typing, you are using the browser, and the CSS is the display, okay, the view, okay, right? So is MVC problem solution? So to tell you that MVC does not solve these three things: code complexity, code reuse, decouple code. Okay, then to make a conclusion that MVC is a pattern, not a solution. To give you something that structured pattern. Okay, pattern do not solve problem. They help developer, okay, to properly doing the software, develop the software. Okay, that's all. Okay, so design activity here in this assignment, you will start the design of your game by exploring. Okay, this one you don't have to do because this is after you get approval of your project proposal. Okay, either you want to do game, but remember the theme is on educational, right? Educational, children, or kids or young adult or adults, okay, or elderly punya education, up to you. Okay, so after that, then only you go through on the interface and scenario and also storyboard. Okay, so this one we put the poll first until you get approval of your project. Okay, so only one task is to propose a project topic. All right, that's all for today. Okay, so 12:03, 3 minutes. So again, MVC is architecture. Okay, software architecture. Okay, software architecture, model, view, and controller. So what you see is the view, right? What you add, what you use is the controller, and that's one is the front end. The back end is the model, which is the data and all the treatment behind that. Okay, that's all. So actually, it's related. It's good to combine, right? So any question? Boleh faham? So your task is only one. Next week we'll do presentations on the proposal, okay, before we do lab. All right. So prepare 5 minutes. Okay, you can better you use slide lah kan. Slide is easiest for make people understand. Okay, don't use a word. Okay, word. Don't use a word. Use slide better. Right. So I can see most of you give a thumb that you hopefully is mean by understand everything, right? Okay, thank you everyone. I don't want to take more time for your rest time, or I'm not sure if you have other class, but that's all for today. Okay, I see you next week. Bye everyone.
Hi, thank you, madam.
Thank you, madam.
Madam.
Doktor.
Um,
Doktor.
welcome.